Welcome to the Finding Families podcast, where each episode we explore different cases from our files. We identify and bring together family members with those they may never have known. Mostly, we look for unknown birth fathers, where the magic of DNA brings much needed answers to lifelong searchers. I am Louise Baldock, and this week I'll be talking to Sheila about her search.
My mother, as a young woman, had a boyfriend that was her fiancé called Bill. During the war, I believe he was in a prisoner of war camp. My mother had to work in a munitions camp in Oxfordshire. And that is where she got pregnant with me. Right. When the war was over, Bill came home and her and Bill married. At this stage, she was 4 months pregnant with me. They married, and he put his name on my birth certificate. So as far as the law was concerned, I wasn't illegitimate. Yes. But obviously my mum's sisters knew that Bill was not my father. Right? Yes. My mum had contracted TB at the munitions factory and got worse and worse and worse, as did I, because she breastfed me when she didn't know she had TB.
So Sheila.
She was going downhill. I went to spend 10 months in the sanatorium in Hertfordshire. I think the drugs were very new in those days for TB. Whatever they gave my mother and me, it worked on me and helped get me better, but my mother, she was too far gone. And in 1951, when I was 5, she actually died. But at that stage, I was out of the sanatorium and I was sent to live with my godmother, who was my mum's older sister, in Corby in Northamptonshire. And that was where I was when my mother died. I haven't got many memories of that far back, but I remember my auntie brushing my hair and just telling me that Mummy had gone to the angels in heaven. And of course, when you're 5, it doesn't really register that much, does it? You know, I probably went off and went out to play afterwards. Bill married within 9 months of my mother dying. Her husband had been a miner and had died of a mining disease. And she had 2 daughters, both in orphanages. One was in Kent, and I can't remember where the other one was. One was about 14 months older than me, and the other one was 6 years older than me. So anyway, Bill and Nell got married. All I remember him turning up at my aunt's in Corby and saying to my aunt, "Pack a bag, she's coming with us." No warning for my aunt. And we came back to London. I was the first one to be taken into this basement flat. And then over the next few days, we went and collected the other 2 stepsisters from their various orphanages. And we lived in this horrible basement flat in Islington. It was damp and dark and, like a lot of people, you know, didn't have a bath and all that sort of thing. But due to my TB, because I hadn't been completely cleared, I hadn't been signed off, they were able to get a really lovely council house in Shoreditch.
Oh.
So
I wonder why Bill took you away from your auntie. Doesn't make sense. If he knew he wasn't your father and you were staying with your blood relative auntie, seems a bit odd that he came and got you.
Years after, when I went to Aunt Vi's, she gave me a package. She said, "Don't open it now. When you get home, open it." And when I got home, it were letters between my mum and her when my mum was I can only remember my mum in bed coughing. That's the only memory I've got of my mum in my granddad's house. And I opened these letters, Louise, and it broke my heart. Aunt Vi had one daughter who was I think Andy's about 18 months younger than me, but she'd got a heart condition and was told she should not have any more children. So when I came to live with them, she thought it was lovely that Andy had a playmate, you know, and she wrote to Bill and asked Bill if she could adopt me. And in the letter, this is when I knew it was true, what I'd been told. The letter says, "After all, Bill, Sheila is not your blood relative." And the gist of it was the family allowance and getting a nice new home. Because of my health issues, the council put you to the top of the list, and they got this really lovely house with a garden in Shoreditch. And basically Aunt Vi was saying, "I know why you want Sheila, and it's because of this. And she's not your blood relative and you don't love her." I've still got the letters now.
Oh, my word. So he just had his eye on the main chance, really?
Yeah, well, both of them did. Not a happy childhood at all. I'm going to sort of skip over it because I might not be able to carry the interview, but it wasn't a happy childhood, that's all I can say. But at school, at my senior school, I met my husband Keith, and we were quite young, about 14, and we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and Bill seemed to resent that I'd got this boyfriend, and he made my life hell. So in the end, at 16, I left home and got a room in Highbury, not too far, but near where my husband lived, and eventually we got married. And then years after, I was at an uncle's funeral and turned round, and it was my auntie in Corby, it was her daughter. And she said, "Mum's been looking for you for years, trying to find out your whereabouts." So I said, "Oh, well, I'll definitely come and see her, you know." And what had happened was Bill had not allowed me, I was absolutely forbidden to visit any relations. The outcome of that I'll tell in a minute. So anyway, I made arrangements to go and see my auntie and her husband, uncle, in Corby, and she was lovely, really lovely. And I took photos of my son, who was then in the Marines. And she went totally quiet. And she said, "Oh my goodness," she said, "that's Tex. He's a spitting image of your father, biological father, who was an American airman and stationed at Bicester, where your mum was stationed." So from that point on in my life, I was under the impression that this Tex was my father. And apparently why my aunt thought that he was the father, because I'm told that the government gave out things on the radio, "Please be kind to the Americans that are over here, invite them over for tea," you know, invite them and be friendly to them. And my mum used to take Tex home every weekend to her parents' place. So 2 and 2 were put together. Everybody thought that Tex was my father. And the fact that my son looked so much, I must say, everyone that saw it said, Auntie said, and my other auntie said, "Oh, it looks like Tex." So that started me on my ancestry journey, spending a fortune with getting birth certificates, death, trying to find out. I went on American sites. I had my DNA done, and I went on GEDmatch, which I know is an American site, and basically was getting nowhere. And then one day, I think it was 2023, I opened my email and it said, "You have a match, a very close match." So I went quickly on my DNA matches on Ancestry, and it said I had a half-sister.
Wow.
So, and the half-sister had messaged me on Ancestry. So obviously I messaged back and we said, "Oh, we're half-sisters. We've obviously got the same father." That was Eileen. And when we got chatting, she told me her story, that her mother had her when she was very young, and her mother's sister had brought her up as her mother. So Eileen didn't find out until very late in life that who she thought was her mother was really her aunt.
Right.
But she was told as well that her father was an American airman. So
It all added up, Sheila, didn't it?
yeah, it added up. So we thought, right, that's it. We're looking for an American. So we started to do things and we weren't getting anywhere. And then I said to Eileen one day, Eileen, we're getting old. We don't know how long we've got. I said, we need some closure on this. I said, let's see if we can hire someone professional who can maybe have better luck than we've had. And so I phoned you, didn't I?
You did indeed.
I don't know, life sort of teaches you to get a feeling about people, and I felt comfortable with you and I trusted you. It took about a month, and you sent me this very long report of all the relatives you'd found, and it was so interesting to read. And it actually made sense that on my ancestry pie, it kept saying the majority of my genes came from West Midlands. And
That's
I just
right.
thought, well, how can it be West Midlands? My mum was all down south, Berkshire, Essex, and my dad, I thought my dad was American, but so where's this West Midlands? But of course, when you sent me this report with all these relatives that had originally come from the West Midlands, it all made sense.
That's right. So, Dudley, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dudley. And on your report, you had found 2 brothers and a sister. I'm sure it's okay to name them.
Of course it is.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you can just use their first name, Sheila.
Yeah, Graham, Trevor, and Susan.
For you, yes. So you've gone on a step. What the report actually said was that your grandparents we'd found were Percy and Louisa.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And they'd had 3 children. One of them died as a baby. And then they had 1 daughter and 1 son. So I said to you, this boy must be your father.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've skipped to sorry, Louise.
So we told you that your father was born in Bolton, Lancashire, not America.
Yeah.
To Percy and Louisa.
Yeah.
That Vic was your father, and that he wasn't in any way, shape, or form an American airman.
No.
And that he'd been married, and he had 3 children.
You had already told me that you suspected that my father was not an American airman because you'd heard that story so many times. And
yes, I did.
Yeah, you did.
I did.
I think you said that so many women said that about their child because probably, A, it was a bit romantic, and the American would have gone home and all the ties were broken. So
that's absolutely right, Sheila. Honestly, every war baby was subsequently told that their father was an American airman, and I think...
And you knew
clearly
that straight away.
Yes.
So
sometimes they are, but quite often they're not. So we then said to you that your father, Vic, had 3 other children with his wife.
And the 3 children were Graham, Trevor and Susan. Trevor had already passed away, I think, in 2010, as had my biological father. But Susan and Trevor were still alive.
He was 91, wasn't he, when he died? It's just tremendous age.
91?
Yeah.
91, age, yes, he was.
Yes.
And by what I hear of his lifestyle, it's an absolute miracle. What I've been told since. I don't think healthy anything was at the top of his agenda, but no more. Anyway, you then sent a very nice letter to Graham, who was the oldest sibling, asking him how he felt and would he like to meet up. And I think initially he was quite cautious. He relayed to me later that caution was due to spending his life in the police force.
All right.
Never believe anything straight away, be suspicious. And he said that was how he was in life, and that's why he was like that. But you asked him to take a DNA test, which he agreed to, which conclusively said that he was mine and Eileen's half-brother. He sort of mellowed a bit, and I eventually arranged a meeting halfway between his home and my home in a hotel. He came on his own, but my husband came with me. It was a friendly meeting, and very kindly he bought me a big pack of photographs of the family, even the grandparents.
Oh.
Which it was lovely to actually have faces to all those, and he'd labelled them so that on that report you sent me with all those names on, I actually then had a face. It all became real. Do you know what I mean? So
yes, that's lovely.
That was that, and I met him. I was hoping to get a meeting with Susan, but she doesn't drive. And I think her husband still works, so it was difficult for her. But anyway, I think I got a email message from Graham last year saying that him and his wife were on holiday in Lincolnshire, going on holiday in Lincolnshire, and would like to come down and see us. And they did. And we had a lovely, really lovely afternoon. I did a meal, and his wife was lovely, and we talked like, it was very natural. You know, it wasn't, what shall I say next? It was the conversation flowed. So I could tell that he had actually accepted me as being his true half-sister. And we sort of compared things as you do. You know, I said about my tinnitus. In conversation, oh yes, he said, I've got tinnitus as well. You know, you're sort of touching on onto these little links, aren't you? That you know might be the same thing. I haven't met up with Graham since, but anyway, I had an email about a month ago from Susan.
Oh.
Her and her husband are going to visit their son in Surrey, and could they come and see us? So I will be meeting Susan, my half-sister, for the first time in March.
Oh, Sheila, that's marvellous.
And I have spoken to her on the phone, and again, it was just so easy. She was so easy to talk. I think we chatted for about an hour. This was when we first found all this out. Graham's come round now. And in fact, when he came last time, he'd actually downloaded our father's war record, you know, the whole
very
thing.
Good.
It made very interesting reading. Yeah, I think he was in the cool house quite a lot.
Oh dear, what can you tell us about Vic? What did you find out about him?
Well, he seemed to be in and out of the army and was always getting in trouble. But however, one of the things that I did find out, he did get into trouble because he fell asleep on watch. But later on they found out it was a thing where you just go to sleep.
So it wasn't really his fault then, was it, if he had something
to no,
matter with
that's
him?
it. And as Graham said, all his life, you'd just be talking to him 1 minute and then he'd fall asleep. Or he said he used to do things like they'd go to Susan's for dinner and he'd get up in the middle of a meal and go and lay on the settee and fall asleep. He said he was always falling asleep. So he obviously had this condition. So all those times when he got into trouble in the army probably were caused by this medical condition and not in his power to do anything much about. So, that was sort of a bit sad, really.
What did he do for a living, Sheila?
He was a painter and decorator. Same as the father, yeah. That's what
Same as his dad.
When they moved to Bolton, that's what they set up, painting and decorating. And that's what he did. And then he became a labourer for the council.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think he started as a painter and decorator, probably fell out with his dad or something. Sounds like he was a bit of a rebel anyway. And it sounds like my son. I think it skipped a generation.
So,
he worked for the council. He'd go to the park and do things in the park. So I've got pictures of him doing his council job and in his, his cap and everything. So I think that was a lovely thing to have those photos. So that name actually was a person. It wasn't a name. And really, the bottom line to all this is, it's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't been through it that the weight that is lifted from it's like a freedom. I can't explain it.
It's wonderful, Sheila, and the only reason we do this work is for people like you and Eileen, who you must have answers. It's not okay to not know who your own parents are. It's not okay. So we absolutely do everything in our power to get you answers. And now you know exactly who your father was. He wasn't Tex and he wasn't Bill.
No.
He was Vic. And now you know about him. You've got pictures of him.
Yeah.
You've got pictures of your grandparents, Percy and Louisa.
And Louise.
You've got Eileen, who also didn't have an American father.
Yeah. But what a shame we didn't manage to. I don't know how long you've been doing what you do, but if only it had been 10 years earlier.
Well, we definitely weren't doing it 10 years.
You weren't, no.
The good news is that you met Keith, and he made everything better, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been so understanding with everything. And he knew Bill, so he knew what a nasty bit of work he was.
Yes, he must have been glad to see you move out.
Yeah, and, he's always taken care of me, so, yeah. I'm sorry I'm getting all this.
Bless you. It's very emotional stuff, isn't it, all this? This is what shaped your life.
I didn't want to die not knowing. I mean, when I've told my children, they go, oh, yeah, that's interesting. But, it's only when you get sort of perhaps over your 70s, you realise that you're on the way down the mountain and rather on the way up. And these things start, you want to tie all the loose ends up before you do go. And I know Eileen the same. I found what I was looking for. I don't need to find any more. So, yeah.
You know your story now, don't you? You know that Vic and Olive met during the war in the armed service together somewhere or another.
When Graham gave me the war records, there it was. He was at Bicester, same place as my mum.
Oh, that's where they met then.
Yeah, so he definitely was in Bicester, where my mum was stationed. And I'm really looking forward to meeting Susan in March. And
that'll be lovely, won't it?
We would have all met. Eileen's met them already, and we've all met each other then. And I'm not saying we're too far away to really. It's a shame have a closer relationship, but I do hope I'll perhaps be able to meet up with them once a year or something like that. It would be nice.
Yes, definitely, and that'd be the first blood relatives you've had apart from your own children.
Yeah. I know I've said this before, Louise, but I can never thank you enough for what you've done.
Sure.
And to make it affordable for people like us, Well,
that's been lovely, Sheila. I hope you're going to be all right when you get off the phone.
Yeah, I'm fine.
It's been really lovely, and I think it's important for you to be able to get it all out, really.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Lots of love.
Yeah, same to you.
This has been a Finding Families production with music from Lisa Hoyle. If you have a birth family search that you would like our help with, please visit our website, which is www.findingfamilies.co.uk. Goodbye.